Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am so excited for this video because we're going to be playing with the new Adept Cosmetics and Heather Austin collaboration. This palette is super beautiful, so just give you a quick look. I did have one shade come broken, but everything in here is so stunning. I have been playing with this a bunch off camera, so today's video is definitely less of a first impression and more of a review. So I thought we could go ahead, go through, do swatches of every single shade. I'll kind of tell you my description of them, how I feel about them. We're gonna go ahead and do an eye look. I feel like I'm leaning towards playing with some yellow and green today, and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts at the end. So this palette is launching on March 25th at, I believe, 12 p.m. MST, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll make sure to have all the details down below, as well as Heather's launch video, which you should definitely watch if you want to hear all the details and just get to know everything that went into this palette. I feel like this is kind of a spoiler, but I just have to say I feel like this is my favorite Adept palette thus far. It's very close to the original Plain Jane. They're like neck and neck. So I was thinking if you guys would like, I could definitely do a video ranking, swatching, reviewing every single Adept palette next to one another, because I'm not going to be doing comparisons today. But if you'd like to see a video like that, leave your feedback down below and I'll get to it as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and jump on in. So the very first shade in the palette is called Video Chat, and I would personally describe this one as a multi-chrome, probably. It has like that orange to yellow green kind of flip happening. You can see it there a little bit, but I am going to insert some swatches at the end so you can see the shifts on all the shade that much better. Then next we have the shade Passport, which this one you have to be a little bit more careful with it because it is super intense, but this is definitely, oh gosh, I think this has to be my favorite shade. I just feel like the purple shift and everything about it is just so intense. It is incredibly metallic. I just love that shade with all my heart. Next we have So Excited. This one's really good for a neutral look. So it's kind of like a purple silver with like almost like a little bit of like a goldeny green shift to it. So I feel like it kind of looks very neutral there, and it is, like I said, more of a neutral shadow, but I feel like it's like a special neutral like that paired with this burgundy. Stunning. Like just so pretty together. Such a nice, quick, just beautiful look. Look at that. So pretty. Okay, next we have the shade 0603. And this one is another kind of like neutral shade, but I would say it's a fun neutral. It's like this really beautiful kind of silvery, blackened plum mid-tone metallic. Again, so pretty. Again, that shade with the burgundy. Love the burgundy in here. I feel like it just goes so nicely together. We've got Magnolia, which is a pretty pigmented, soft kind of, I would say like kind of emerald green. Super nice. I feel like it's very pigmented and definitely looser pressed in the pan than some mattes from Adept in the past. And then we've got Mythology, which is a really nice mustardy yellow. It is super pigmented. I mean, it kind of has just a touch of like a green chartreusey note to it, but I would mostly call it a mustard yellow. Look at that. Yeah, I feel like the mattes just look so smooth. I feel like they're way better than some of the mattes in the past from Adept. Like I want to say originally it was the Ninhydrin palette that I tried that I didn't like the mattes in, but these mattes are super easy to work with. So next we've got two more mattes, and I feel like the matte color story really reminds me of Anastasia's Subculture palette, but like in the best way. Like I feel like if it was Subculture, but done 100% perfect. Because for one, I feel like Anastasia Beverly Hills has some of the most mediocre shimmers that these just completely blow them out of the water, but I feel like all the shimmer shades that were paired with the four mattes like take the color story and absolutely do the most with it, if that makes sense. So we have PA02, which like I said is a really beautiful burgundy. I mean, you could see super pigmented. And then we have Atlas, which is a nice kind of neutral brown. I feel like it kind of looks warm in the palette. I can see that, and maybe it's because it's next to video chat, it looks more warm. But I have used this to blend out the burgundy, and it does not get muddy at all. It's just using it very lightly. I feel like you can use that orange to go more into the purple or to go more into the green, and you can kind of get it to work either way. And then we have this shade Scrubs, which I don't know if you can tell, but it is a super intense duochrome. I feel like it's like an indigo purple to like a burgundy kind of shift. Like, it is just so pretty. It's such a stunning purple blue shade. So there's what that one looks like. I mean, you can see, look at that. The shift is so intense. I feel like when you look at the palette, like just in like the plain still shots, that shade just looks like very like, I don't know, it doesn't stand out. But then actually swatching it, putting on your eyes, it's so pretty. Lastly, we have Hey Y'all, which I love this shade. I love the name. So it is a really beautiful purple. I feel like it's a little bit more vibrant than 0603, but they kind of have a similar vibe. Again, this one paired with the burgundy all over the lid, such an easy look, and it's super, super pretty. Then we have this shade called Austin, which is so hard to describe. I feel like on camera, all you're seeing is like a light kind of lavender, but from my view, it's like an intense, like bluey green shift. It's such a pretty shadow. This one is more of like a flaky shadow. I'll kind of show you what it looks like just picking it up a little bit. It's super, super intense. So I tend to try to be really careful with it, but it's just so pretty. Actually, it kind of reminds me of the Touch of Glam Color Me Multichromes a little bit, like more towards that type of formula, just super, super intense. A little goes a long way. I love this shade on the inner corner. I mean, are you surprised at all? Probably not. Hopefully, I mean, you can kind of see the blue shift a little bit there. And then lastly, we have one more multichrome. This is the shade Smith, and it's just pretty much like a really classic, like green, gold kind of multichrome. I feel like with this matte color story, the multichromes, the duochromes, they just do so much for it. Look at that. So pretty. So there's what they look like up close. I'm gonna go ahead and insert some swatches so you can see the shift better. All right, so jumping on in, I already primed my eyes with the Anastasia eye primer, but I will say I've used this palette with just concealer and had no issues with the mattes blending on top of concealer. So let's go ahead and start off with the shade Mythology. I'm just grabbing that on a big fluffy blending brush, and I'm gonna put it all the way through my crease. And I went in with just a little bit, because like I said, it's super pigmented. Just gonna start blending it out, and then I'll add more as needed. I mean, hopefully you guys can see the difference, because I've talked about Adept's mattes in the past and them not being my favorite. And this is just blending and showing up and not needing to build up. You know, it's doing what it needs to do, and I appreciate it. Like, look at that. I didn't mean to go in with so much, but goodness gracious, it's so pigmented. Okay, I went in with just a little bit more. Just blending it out, but you can see like such a pretty yellow. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of the shade Atlas, just kind of incorporating that on my lower lash line. Oh no, I picked up too much and I didn't tap it off. That was such a newbie mistake. Oh, I just put the brush in my eye. Oh, I'm a hot mess. I'm just throwing that on as like a little base of orange, and then we'll go in with a shimmer over it later. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take the shade Magnolia, picking up a little bit and tapping off the excess. I'm gonna pop that into my outer V to start off with. Just right here, and lightly blending it out. So pigmented. I just want to note something that hasn't happened to me before, and I think it's because I went a little bit ham with the yellow, but you can see on the outer V where I put it here, it did come off just a little bit, like it didn't stick the absolute best. So I'm just blending it out, and I mean, it is blending, it just didn't stick right there. You can kind of see the yellow over top a little bit. So I'm just gonna go back in with just a touch more. And then I'm grabbing a little bit more of Mythology just to kind of help blend out this area right here. Like I said, I haven't had that issue with the outer V at all before, but I just wanted to mention it because I didn't want to just bypass it or whatever. But like I said, I've actually used this mostly with a concealer as primer. Today's the first time with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer. So maybe that's what it is, but I still think it looks pretty good, and for what we're doing today, it does not really matter. I'm gonna go into the shade Video Chat now. I'm gonna pop that on the inner half of the lower lash line. Because it does have a shift of green, I thought it would look pretty with this look. It's like right now it kind of looks orange, so it's adding some contrast, but in the right lighting, it will shift green. Before we go into the lid shade, I'm gonna take Austin as our inner corner, and I'm just gonna pop that right here. You can see it is so intense. That's not being sprayed, no glitter primer, nothing. It is just sparkly goodness. I love that it's kind of super light with a shift of pink and green, because again, I feel like it goes really well with the shades in the palette. You could pair this on the inner corner with the burgundy, which I have and I loved, or with all the greens, and it complements the look either way. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and go into the shade Smith, and I'm just gonna pick it up on my finger, get a full multi-chrome moment here, and we're gonna put that all over the lid. That looks so pretty, and that's why I wasn't worried about the outer V at all, because I knew this was going all over the lid, and it just pulls everything together. So to finish off this look, I'm gonna go into the We Makeup Only Eye Pencil in the shade Malachite Green, throw on the Thrive Cosmetics mascara, and I'll be right back. So this is the finished look. I went ahead and just quickly added some of the Natasha Super Glow highlighter in Fair on top of my cheekbones, and then I threw on the Tower 28 Cashew Lip Gloss. So let's go ahead and talk about my final thoughts on the palette. So like I said, I really am enjoying this palette. I think it's so beautiful. I feel like the matte formula has improved a ton from Adept. Like I said, I had a little issue with the outer V today, but I don't know what exactly was causing that, and I feel like the finished look still ended up being really beautiful, and I feel like all the shimmers in here are just, they make the palette completely worth it. The mattes are nice, but the shimmers are just chef's kiss. So I'm really impressed. I feel like every single one of these shades are shades that I would see myself reaching for all the time. In fact, I was just thinking, I feel like Video Chat, because it does have that like green base on the front of this look, would be really pretty too, and kind of something cool and different. So I'll have to try that next. But I feel like the thing that I love about this palette the most, and that I really think Heather did an amazing job on, is I feel like if you are a color lover or a neutral lover, there's so much for you here. Like I feel like there are some very tamed down options, but then there's also some super colorful options as well. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, and that's perfectly how I like to do my makeup, kind of right in between. So I'm really enjoying it. This palette does have a mirror as well. It just says Heather Austin and Adept Cosmetics, and I forgot to mention it before. I kind of got some foundation on this, but the packaging is really nice. It's like a beautiful, deep kind of plummy shade, and it matches along with the Ninhydrin palette. It matches with the Plain Jane Remastered, which is like a pink, and then Amulet New is like a really bright red. So I feel like this goes along and looks really nice along with the other palettes. But that is pretty much everything that I have to say. Again, congratulations, Heather. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see me rank all the Adept palettes, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!